It felt like the injuries started to catch up with the Bucks the other night in San Antonio, and it continued tonight at home against the Hawks. The Bucks lose, and a couple more injuries to add to the list. But there was a bright spot, and that was MarJon Beauchamp, and he was excellent tonight. And we can talk about the rookie on his career night, and then overall, just look at where the Bucks sit in terms of their roster and what their options are over the next few weeks as they try and ride this out to potentially, maybe, hopefully get healthy.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Bucks. My name's Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on this show Monday to Friday, and also find my work over at ESPN alongside me, the founder of brewhoop.com and longtime voice of the podcast, Frank Madden. And of course, we thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first watch or first listen, whether it's on the old school audio platform or you want to look at the beautiful lighting in the household of Frank Madden and doing it on YouTube. We appreciate everyone's support. And I mentioned it, but jump on YouTube. It's fun. We're building a little community here. Twitter could be about to die, and maybe YouTube is where we follow on and then continue our conversation. So jump on YouTube, hit subscribe. We really appreciate it. And today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. So the Bucks do lose to the Hawks, Frank. It was a pretty ugly game. They couldn't hit a three to save themselves. And overall, probably one of those games that we wouldn't describe as the most entertaining outing of all time. I saw Twitter was starting to get a little bit upset about what was happening on the court. How did you take this, Frank? Because I'm always curious to know how you work through Bucks games, and just beware of your internet there as well, Frank. You're a bit sketchy to start this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw Drew, just no illusion of Drew Holiday playing today, my immediate thought was, even with Giannis coming back, looking at Atlanta, who they have, we're not convincing with in the one game they won and looked really bad with a week ago, even without Trae Young. And then Cleveland and Philly the rest of the week. I came into the night thinking, like, man, if they win one game this week, I'll probably be happy with that. And, I think we saw, well, I wasn't hoping to be so pessimistic. You're coming in 10-2, but again, this is why I think you had to be so thankful for banking early wins, because right now, like, that you lose Wes Matthews tonight, Grayson Allen, you lost tonight. The bench is becoming very thin. Pat Connaughton is on week 4 of a 3-week theoretical injury. Who knows when he's going to come back? Chris Middleton, who knows? So the injuries are hitting hard, and probably the insult to injury is that Giannis he hasn't looked like Giannis in the month of November. He's only played 4 games this month, and coming back from the injury, looked really rusty and just completely lacking confidence in his jump shot. So it's just a bit of a struggle right now. And as you said, the one bright spot really was MarJon Beauchamp. So it's just kind of funny how quickly we go from, like 10-1 start to the year to like rooting for rookies and just having to reserve excitement for a young guy showing out. And, this is now 3 times in the last week or so that MarJon's really made an impact. And, I think, again, this will be one of those games that, you kind of forget about in the grand course of a regular season. Just as you said, they couldn't hit any shots. Giannis looked really bad. The Hawks defended him well. And again, just struggling to kind of get any touch either at the line or outside the restricted area. But MarJon Beauchamp, if you had told me, coming into the season or even 2 weeks ago that he would have his first 20-point game at this point of the season, playing in a game that, again, obviously there were guys missing, but it's not like this was one of those just complete punt games, right? This was a real opponent. And it's now the second time in a week that he's really, really played well. That obviously was kind of the one, I'd say, silver lining from this. And certainly for, compared to, Jordan Nwora, I think everyone would probably look at MarJon Beauchamp as being safely in the lead in terms of whatever competition there may be there. But, fortunately, we thought the opportunities would be getting fewer for these guys, who are, again, sort of on the margins of the rotation when healthy. But the reality is, again, with Chris and Pat, no imminent return there. Jrue Holiday, is he back this week? Hopefully from that ankle injury, but maybe not. We'll see. And who knows? I mean, Giannis turned his ankle. If he sat out Wednesday's game because that one swells up in the next day or so, I wouldn't be shocked either. So those guys are going to continue to see minutes, especially if Grayson Allen and Wes Matthews and all these guys continue to be out. So again, this week will probably be a bit of a struggle. If you can win one game, I think you'd be happy, but it's an 82 game grind. And, again, that's why you take all those wins that you can get early in the season, because you're going to have stretches like this where guys are dinged up and you're dealing with, half of your normal rotation. And we'll see kind of how it plays out. But I think, this was just a rough one to watch on a number of fronts. And, you just move on and you sort of try to get guys healthy. But right now, Bucks getting less healthy before they're getting healthy, it looks like.
Yeah, I mentioned some of the frustration that I saw on Twitter, which is a little bit funny for me because I was sort of watching this game and looking at the lineups that are out there on the floor. And then as you sort of mentioned, Grayson Allen goes down, then Wesley Matthews goes down. And it was kind of just inevitable. You would love it if Giannis was able to score in a few different ways and more efficiently than he has to this point. But at the same time, he also tweaked his ankle, as you referenced there. So there was just a lot going wrong that I couldn't find myself getting frustrated by this game. It was just like, geez, I'd be happy if this game ended, until Beauchamp obviously had those moments that he did. But, Bud really didn't want to put Mamu on the floor either. He definitely didn't want to put Thanasis on the floor either. So they only had 3 guys left on the bench, and 2 of them were in warm-ups because Bud didn't want to play them. So there was Bobby Portis was in foul trouble as well. So just looking at some of the lineup combinations that were out on the floor, it was bizarre. They were going with the 3 bigs. Serge Ibaka was out there playing 2-man game with Bobby Portis there at one point and shooting 3. So there was just a lot of strange stuff that was happening in this game. And by the way, Atlanta's just a decent team as well. They've been winning games and have a pretty good record to start the season. But I want to ask you more about MarJon Beauchamp, though, because I think it's hard to really imagine this team at full strength now because we haven't seen it yet. We're a month into the season. There's so many guys that are out, and it feels almost impossible that they're all going to be back at one point in time. But yeah, clearly at this point, Beauchamp is the one that's grabbed the torch, and War has really, really struggled. And Beauchamp's doing a bunch of different things that I think, Mike Budenholzer would be pleased with, and probably Giannis as well. But I want to talk about our friends at Sweatblock. Today's episode is brought to you by Sweatblock, and I've spoke about Sweatblock quite a few times on this podcast. And if you know someone who, is suffering from excessive or embarrassing sweating, Sweatblock might be the product for you. And I did mention that I went to New Zealand last week, and I tell you what, first international trip in a long time. First of all, I was sweating on the plane. There's no doubt about that. I don't love flying. But then when we got off the plane in New Zealand, we had to go to customs. For some reason, there was a 2.5-hour line in customs. It was packed with people. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people just squished into this New Zealand customs area like sardines. I was sweating like a maniac. I probably stunk. And I did think to myself, Sweatblock, what a beautiful product that would be if I had some on me there. But I didn't. So that's a fail for me. But I know how I can do it. I can go to sweatblock.com. And if you are someone or you know someone that you love that is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweatblock. Save 20% off with the promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. It's also available over at Amazon as well. And that's not all we got for you today, Frank, because we're going to talk about Rocket Money as well. If you're wasting money on subscriptions, 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. Maybe it's your unused Amazon Prime account. I'm probably guilty for that. Or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app that I use that helps me track all my expenses. And because of it, I no longer have to waste money on subscriptions I don't even use. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as True Bill, that we have actually spoke about on this podcast quite a lot. So I spoke about it before when I was living in Milwaukee, had a gym membership. But I don't know why. If you look at my little noodle arms, everyone would be surprised that I was going to a gym. But I was going to a gym, moved back to Australia, forgot about the subscription. These cats over at this gym are charging me a cleaning fee. I don't even live in the country anymore. But if I had Rocket Money, I would have been fine. So cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, MarJon Beauchamp, 20 points, 8 rebounds. He's hitting step back threes off the dribble now. He's running in transition. He's diving into the crowd. He's hitting the offensive glass. Let me just ask you straight up. What are you most impressed by, or is there something in particular early in the season? And there's been ups and downs, which there always will be with a rookie, but is there something in particular with Beauchamp that has impressed you the most?
It's kind of funny. I hesitate to say that he's like, like a plus defender in terms of, helping you play really good defense right now, because he still fouls a lot. But I think you can really see the outlines of why he was a guy that we were generally really excited about from like a defensive profile perspective. He spent a lot of time on DeJounte Murray tonight. I think those, they know each other well because they're both Washington area products. But I mean, it's pretty intriguing to have a guy that can defend, on the ball. I think he's still figuring out how to get over screens and, shade guys and pick and rolls, things like that. But I think he's a guy with his size. He's going to get, I think, stronger, bigger and stronger as he, gets more time in an NBA weight room working with an NBA staff. Suki Hobson, she'll take care of him. And I think, he's officially listed at 6'7", 197. If he gets to 215 over the next year or two, or 220, something in that range, I think you're looking at a guy that, again, is just has this really intriguing combination of size and from a physical profile perspective. Those are the types of guys that you just love to throw into the mix of a great team like the Bucks. Just wing depth and guys that can, have strength and defend at a high level. And, again, just I think the tools are there. I think, he'll make plays that are impressive. I thought he really bothered DeAndre Hunter on a number of possessions tonight, forced pretty difficult step back jump shots, like long twos. And so to have a guy that can, competently defend DeJounte Murray, again, not that he's like locking down DeJounte Murray or something like that, but like the fact that Bud can say like, all right, you're defending DeJounte Murray, and then other possessions you're defending a guy like DeAndre Hunter. That's the profile of guys that if you're a really good team that wants to win championships, you want guys like that. And so I think, for me, it all starts with the defense. And obviously the bar is not that high when, your primary competition is Jordan Nwora, because that's obviously not his strength on the defensive end. But I think, like the offensive stuff, to me, the 3-point shooting has been very streaky. I hesitate to say that the 3-point shooting has been impressive. I mean, he came to this game shooting 27%. And he's highly dependent on, I think we talked about last week, right? He was 5 for 8 in that one game in OKC. He was like 4 of 21 in all of the games before that. But that said, you love obviously seeing him make threes. He struggled on Friday in San Antonio, but tonight hits 2 out of 3, 2 out of 4, I think. And then I think, the part that then I expect he'll probably be a solid 3-point shooter, especially given that he's mainly going to shoot, corner threes. I think he's a guy that I think worried a little bit about his like confidence, and I think he's still figuring out when he's going to be aggressive versus when he's going to be deferential. We know obviously it's not like he's going to like try to ball hog it and like run him into pick and rolls or something like that, but finding that balance, especially when you've got Giannis and better players out on the floor with you, is obviously something you just have to kind of figure out for yourself. But I think tonight, we saw him, put the ball on the floor a couple times and just look a little bit more comfortable attacking the basket. And, I mentioned on the previous pod, he gets stripped an absolute ton when he's driving. His handle still needs a lot of work. His strength with the ball needs a lot of work, but, he's got, at times you see like a little bit of wiggle with him where he's, able to contort his body, get to the basket, draw a foul or finish around guys. If he can get to competent 3-point shooting, and then at the same time when teams are closing out on him. If he's a threat to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim and finish, again, it's not to say that, it's not that it makes him a 20-point per game scorer or something like that, but that really makes him dangerous in an offense where he's not going to ever need to be the primary guy, right? So I think it's just those little things. I mean, probably the play that blew me away the most was the end-to-end play. We had a couple end-to-end plays. Probably the first one, not the one I was going to say about. The first one, he makes a great save, keeping the ball in bounds on the defensive end, and then catches and in one motion shoots a catch and shoot three. Which again, was that is that the shot you want him taking? If the offense has Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton on the floor with him and Giannis, maybe not. But it was cool to see him just kind of again funnel that defensive energy into offense and make a play. And he was one of the few guys that kind of like was actually giving the Bucks energy tonight. But I thought the one that was probably more impressive, he makes a strip on a drive. I can't remember who it was, if it was Murray or Hunter or who it was, but basically he's defending the ball, gets a strip, gets the steal, ball gets picked up by whoever it was, one of the other Bucks, and they pass him the ball. He's starting to streak down on a 2-on-1, and ball nearly gets picked off. Does a nice job just like catching it and getting into his dribble. And then I think his, to be honest, like I mentioned, the dribbling, that needs a lot of work. Also his passing, he's got no feel for passing right now. But the fact that on this break, he whips around and around the back pass to George Hill, which George Hill probably could have tried to go for a layup. Instead, he dumps it to Bobby Portis for an and one. So MarJon didn't get the assist, but that was just that was one of those plays where certainly I was not expecting that type of play in that situation. And I don't think playmaking is ever going to be his strength, but again, that's just one of those things where you hope that these reps and just getting confidence and experience on the floor, knowing where guys want the ball, how guys are going to fill lanes, the geometry of the half court offense. Hopefully that allows him to become a better passer in time and get a little bit better feel for that sort of thing. But that was a really fun play, obviously. And honestly, I mean, that was the kind of last best hope probably the Bucks had in that game. That made it 108-99. Portis could have made it an 8-point game at the foul line. Unfortunately, he misses a free throw, and they really didn't get close after that. But yeah, I think just encouraging signs from him, and the silver lining of even more injuries to Bucks wings is that he's going to have to keep playing like this. He's going to continue to get opportunities, but he's deserved them now regardless. And he's got some margin of error. Obviously, it's not like he's playing 5 minutes a half and he'll get one or two shots, and if he makes it or misses it, it's going to determine his impact on the night. So it's been good to see. I mean, we didn't know if he would need to go down to the G League to see these kinds of minutes. So it's not ideal from a basketball winning perspective that you're having to force him into these situations, but credit to him. He's taken the opportunity, and I think as you were saying, I don't think you can really get mad at any of the guys tonight on the floor that were actually healthy enough to play and blame them for this loss. I mean, you can blame it on Giannis, because Giannis, you expect obviously the world from him. That's just the burden he carries, and he just wasn't very good tonight. But MarJon, and honestly, like all these other guys, they're just being stretched probably in a lot of cases farther than they really should be. But they're doing everything they can. Obviously, MarJon tonight came through big, and who knows? Hopefully, he's got one or two more of these up his sleeve in the next week or two, because it seems like the Bucks are going to probably need him to play extended minutes for at least another while.
Well, as you mentioned, there is a bit of margin for error with Beauchamp there, and the people are coming for you for even mentioning blame with the word Giannis there, with the name Giannis. So the people are going to be coming for you for that comment. And you mentioned that Beauchamp...
Wait, here's a what do you think Giannis is from outside the restricted area in his last two games? Both losses to the Hawks, of course. But what do you think he is outside the restricted area in the last two games? I just looked this up.
Well, I don't think he's very good on the season, let alone the last two games. So I'm not sure. I know it's bad. Yeah.
He's 0 for 15. He's 0 for 15 outside the restricted area in the last two games. And I tweeted out some of the numbers. I mean, he's probably at about 20% from both floater range and 20% from mid range right now. And I mean, some of these shots are, he like airballed like a 5-footer And he had a couple like potential and ones where you expect him to like lay it in, and he literally like laid it short, didn't get rim on like a layup attempt. Like I don't know. You can tell he's just struggling for feel with the ball. And it seemed like in the fourth quarter he took a couple jump shots, which it felt like almost like he was just treating them like practice shots. Like he's just like, all right, we're probably losing this game. Like I just need to see a shot go down, and he missed both of those. And again, obviously this stuff kind of it comes and goes, but he's been overall now. I mean, we always talk about Giannis, like every year he improves. Like so far, even with the numbers as huge as they are, right? It's crazy. I mean, he came to this game averaging 32 points a game, but he's basically just doing it by getting to the rim even more than he usually does, and just being even more of a monster at the rim. And everything else has just been, kind of pulling teeth. And the free throw line again tonight, he hasn't been great from the line. But, for me, really, the question is that you just hope that he gets his feel back for the mid-range. And, like you can tell he just doesn't have any confidence to even shoot like a little hook shot, right? Like you can tell he just feels like he has to get to the rim right now because everything else just isn't there. So hopefully that's part of this is just the fact that he's been in and out of the lineup with the injuries and hasn't been able to get much of a rhythm. But we'll see. I mean, again, I hope the ankle thing doesn't prevent him from playing on Wednesday, because obviously Cleveland, even if Donovan Mitchell has his own injury problem, own ankle problem, who knows if he'll play. But, going up against that Cavs team without any of Giannis, Drew, and Chris, wouldn't exactly be something you want to look forward to if you're a Bucks fan. But yeah, it's just a struggle for him right now, and I'm sure being out of the lineup and kind of coming back for a game or two here or there and then going back out is not helping. So you just kind of hope that knee is starting to feel better, because again, they need him obviously. They need him not shooting. I think it's the 4 straight games he's been under 50% from the field. So they need him not being, 8 out of 21 with 8 turnovers. Obviously we know he's way better than that. And I don't even think it was the Atlanta defense so much tonight, right? Like Okongwu, I didn't think even really saw him that much. But charges and, just missing stuff around the basket, not being able to get feel from mid-range. It's just been a struggle here these past couple weeks. And again, hopefully he's able to kind of just start to get healthy, feel healthy, and start to get some of those reps down. So we'll see. Giannis always bounces back. It's just a matter of how long it takes.
Well, some positive news for Giannis and our Greek friends listening to the podcast. Harris Stavry did tweet out that it looks like Greece qualified for the World Cup next year today. So that's great news for Greece. They've now earned the right to lose to Australia in the World Cup. So congratulations for that honor. And I look forward to seeing you all over there in Japan, the Philippines, Indonesia, across 3 countries. Unbelievable stuff, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. And Frank, you mentioned that MarJon Beauchamp might not have got an assist for that behind the back pass, but he got an assist in my heart. That was a beautiful highlight from tonight's game. But if you had MarJon Beauchamp on Prize Picks, you might have been a little bit annoyed by that. And if you're not really aware of what I'm talking about, Prize Picks is pretty easy to play. You just pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than the Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch, so it doesn't have to be basketball. There's NFL. Baseball's done now, but hockey, golf, all different types of sports there that you can find on Prize Picks. So the entries are made in 60 seconds. It's that easy, and it's safe and fast. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. So don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com. The Locked On Sports Today podcast is an absolute ripper as well. Make sure you check it out. All sports from around the world. Catch up every morning after you're done with Locked On Bucks. Frank, another player that's just struggling a little bit here lately, and foul trouble was certainly a problem tonight. There was a bit of frustration. Picked up a technical foul there. But Bobby Portis, because it was only a week ago, I was saying, look, 6th man of the year. These stars will miss a few games. Bobby will absolutely pump up those numbers, and it'll look great when he eventually goes back to his role as a reserve. But he just he's been battling a little bit.
Can't make shots.
Here.
Yeah, he just can't make shots. Yeah.
And particularly from 3, I mean, I think we all thought, he's probably not a high 40s 3-point shooter for the rest of his career, but it's kind of weird. He's just in one of those ruts now where when he's shooting the ball, I don't particularly think it's going in. he's just struggling. And he has been a professional scorer throughout his career, but he's been in a rut for a little while now.
Yeah, he's an obvious guy that you look at when the Bucks are missing their stars. Like, oh, okay, Bobby Portis can now kind of go to work and, Bobby buckets, et cetera, et cetera. But I think in my head, I was sort of thinking of it as, he's had a really good partnership with Giannis the last couple of years. Like, they play really well together. And I think with Bobby, I mean, whatever, it's like a couple of weeks worth of games, but it's kind of felt like, the lack of star power and the gravity that comes with it, and that, forcing him to have to just do more. Because the thing, I mean, he can obviously ISO up and shoot mid-range jumpers and that stuff, but to me, that's kind of like that's like the tax, like an efficiency tax. Like those are, he's not going to be like an efficient scorer doing that all the time. And what he needs are, Giannis drawing attention and kicking out to Bobby for open threes, or, having Drew and Chris, finding him open under the basket for layups and things like that. And then, the fact that he can be at least a solid ISO guy is kind of rounds out his skill set. But when he's having to do a lot of that and nobody's giving him, easy looks, then it's kind of been what we've been seeing. And I mean, to his credits, he's still like a double guy every night.
Yeah.
But it just seems like every night it's tonight 6 for 15 for 14 points or whatever it was, 5 for 13, again, poor shooting nights. And again, both him and Giannis sort of at the same time, just not scoring efficiently for kind of different reasons. And obviously the jump shot sort of betraying them both to varying degrees, obviously. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be without obviously a bunch of guys here over the next week or two, then you have to cross your fingers that Bobby kind of snaps out of his slump a little bit. But didn't happen again tonight. But again, he also did have some moments, as we mentioned. I think had a kind of a slow start, and then I felt like probably like half his points might have come in the fourth quarter. I don't have the numbers in front of me exactly, but yeah, I mean, Bucks half court offense was just brutal tonight, and I think with Jevon and George Hill in particular, right? I mean, like having Jevon and George Hill as your backup point guards can like work when you've got 3 high level scorers and creators around them, but it's just really hard, right? I mean, Jevon, like George Hill had actually a pick and roll dump off to Giannis for a dunk today, which is like crazy because normally like Jevon and George like have no idea how to get Giannis easy baskets out of pick and roll. So that was nice to see. And I think Jevon was 4 for 11 tonight. I mean, whatever, like he scored 36 and 21 points the last 2 games. Like we can't sort of expect Jevon Carter to like just continually be like a 20 point per game score. I mean, this is not reasonable. But I swear, 4 out of 11, were all 4 of those like running one-handed pick and roll floaters. It seemed
unbelievable the degree of difficulty on this shot.
Yeah, and again, like when he runs the pick and roll with Giannis, like I have no illusion that he's going to be able to pass and get Giannis anything. It's really just a question of can he get an open look that he can finish. But it is what it is. My only complaint about Jevon is, and there was one example where Giannis. He eventually passed to Giannis on the break, and that was when Giannis like avoided the charge and kind of threw the pass over his shoulder to Bobby for a layup. Jevon needs to get the memo. Like when Giannis is asking you for the ball, give him the damn ball in transition. Like he waits too often. Like Jevon's like, well, I'm a point guard. I'm the one who brings up. It's like, dude, no, give the ball to Giannis. Go to the corner and get open for a 3-point shot. Like that is officially my only Jevon Carter complaint. He's got a little bit of the Brogdonitis when it comes to like understanding, whose butter you need to, whose bread you need to butter, whose points you need to put in the paint or whatever our equivalent would be. Just give the damn ball to Giannis in transition. Just get the F out of the way. And don't worry about advancing the ball and waiting to give Giannis the ball in transition. And nearly got him a charge tonight. He had enough of those on his own. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, again, no serious complaints about Jevon. He didn't have a monster night, but it was due to happen at some point. And what he's given them over the past week, I officially withdraw any other complaints other than that one nitpick.
No, that's absolutely very fair. And I did tweet this, and
did he fall out? Did he foul out tonight? he did get like Trae Young was getting the better of him with some of the foul baiting and some of that stuff. Like
Just falling over.
Jevon was, yeah. Jevon, did he have 5 fouls tonight? It was not fun to watch there in the second half, and particularly got a tech too. So yeah, I mean, Trae didn't have a monster night or anything, but it was it was a bit of a come down game for Jevon, but so it goes.
He's had a big few days. We'll never forget the double overtime thriller in OKC, 36 points.
Thank God they won. Thank God they won that game, right? I mean, if they lose that game, then you could be looking at a 6-game losing streak by the end of the week. So that's, hey, scratch and claw, any win you can get.
We'd be up here wondering what the partnership of Victor Wembanyama and MarJon Beauchamp is going to look like. Do the Bucks even have a first-round pick? Probably not. Do they? Nah, don't think so.
This year? No, I don't think so.
Jeez. Better start winning. The old Bucks. I wonder who has their first round pick then. I guess the Pelicans. But geez, I tell you what, the Pelicans are cashing in with these tanking teams, the Bucks and Lakers. But anyway, let's wrap this up with a positive. So you spoke about the transition stuff. I tweeted about this. Not my most technical analysis, but there was one play tonight where MarJon Beauchamp inbounded the ball, and I think it was Giannis was walking up the court with the ball, and everyone's already in the half court. I've never seen a man sprint faster than Beauchamp just to get up the floor and run to the corner. Like, that is one thing that you never have to worry about him. A, he's very aware that Giannis needs the ball, and B, he's willing to sprint as fast as he possibly can to get down the floor. So I think Giannis will enjoy that. We've spoken about the fact that he'll get some easy buckets if that's what he does in transition, and he did with that right-handed dunk there in, I believe it was the second quarter. So overall, a pretty tough night for the Bucks, but it's been a while since we've had a rookie to get it, potentially excited about and see what he's doing on the floor. So watching MarJon Beauchamp's been fun the last week or so here. And as you said, he's getting more minutes than potentially we thought. I don't know if I predicted he was going to play 35 minutes and start multiple games in a row here. But something to look forward to on Wednesday, because we're not sure who's going to play in this game against the Cavs. All right, let's wrap it up. Check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Frank, you got one more thought? Come on, Frank, let me know.
The Bucks allowed 20 three-pointers tonight. Beautiful. That's the fewest amount they've allowed in at least over a year, right? The first night of the season, the 5 out of 24 from Philly, that would have been the fewest number of makes and attempts last year. This night, only 20 attempts, but obviously it gets lost in the shuffle because A, you fouled a ton, B, offensive rebounding was again a problem. I swear to God, Giannis hasn't boxed out a Hawk this calendar year. Like every game, somebody's jumping over him to get rebounds, and the turnovers as well. 15 turnovers for the Bucks, only 9 for Atlanta. So again, kind of the shot chart was really good looking shot chart defensively for the Bucks. Like tons and tons of mid rangers, very few threes, not much at the rim as well. But again, they kind of gave away everything else in the box score when it comes to turnovers, rebounds, and free throws. Again, they had 41 free throws of their own. So Bucks ended up still having an advantage from the foul line. But 26 fouls tonight for the Bucks. That's the most they've had all year. I would hazard they had, I don't know if they had 26 fouls maybe once last year. That was a ton of fouls. They really struggle with that.
It was a long game in time. I felt like this game dragged on for quite a while. But anyway, we made it to the end. We also made it to the end of this podcast. As I mentioned,
they had two games. They had 2 games with 28 fouls last year. Otherwise, 26 was their high. So anyway, yes, 26 fouls. That's a lot.
Fair income. If you don't let me end this podcast, I'm gonna have to yell at you. And that's something
that game sucked. I don't know why I want to keep this podcast going. Like, screw that game. Let's move on. Let's go to bed. But yeah, you know me.
You're a professional podcaster, Frank. That's why we love you. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Then we'll be back after the game against the Cavs. Gotta get back on the winners list. Hopefully we'll do that. Subscribe on YouTube audio platform. Send your comments in YouTube. If you're angry, let us know about your rage. We're here to support. Speak to you guys tomorrow.